The next important date inside the Ripple SEC case is right around the corner on January 15th, and those are announcing that if the SEC does not report a file on this date, this case is officially over. In this video, I want to speak approximately exactly what this filing is and what I suppose is going to take region here. Guys, that is very critical and leads us to something even larger. That is something President Trump simply announced that I trust is going to hugely benefit XRP. The poll on this thing is the White House report number 23, which shows that the state of XRP could jeopardize jobs in the name of the White House. And right now, the SEC is answering questions using this same screen. And as we talk today about user freedom, here are the three screens that we are going to speak of. The view from Benton Tower, the view from the St. Devons Hotel, the view from the Astronoma Mountains, and the view from Benton Tower, and the view from the St. Devons Hotel. The view from Benton Tower, the view from the Estuary Sea. Like, oh, he's simply supporting me so much for this channel. Thank you to every person who takes the time to like these motion pictures and enroll in the channel. These two easy matters truly do mean so much. Also, when you have any accurate place to shop for a few XRP, make sure to test out my favorite alternate up, hold down within the description of this video. With that stated, that turned into From Brighton to, and I desire you men enjoyed the content. The idea is purely there to poke the banana and lift it out of the content because I like my banana meteor ugly. So men, before we get into the Ripple case especially, I wanted to share with you something taking place right now that is shockingly awful for the SEC in any other case, and this is the Coinbase case. Guys, that is a case that become already no longer going properly for the SEC, but I need to reveal you simply how awful it's going because it's surely rather embarrassing and outstanding how horrific the SEC is losing here. So I want first of all this first excerpt, after which get into another one, but allow me just read you what's being stated approximately the SEC right here because it's absolutely stunning. So the SEC's haphazard enforcement approach of concentrated on entities which are trying to comply with the regulation does not give ability defendants the attention that due procedure calls for. The organization has provided no significant steering on what crypto assets are in its view, especially in terms of securities. The Dow report offers steering only, approximately, the clearest crypto property, tokens that just seem like shares. But what about stablecoins, utility cash, or maybe Bitcoin and Ethereum? Existing rules do no longer shape blockchain technology, but the SEC refuses to understand this. And its respectable silence and contradictory unofficial signals breed uncertainty. Crypto issuers and exchanges are left to pass their hands and pray that the enterprise does no longer fault them. Guys, I don't know the way it gets extra damning than that, because for the first time ever what we are seeing is that the federal courts are certainly agreeing with us. They are announcing that the cryptocurrency industry has been right, considering that day one, when the SEC is purposely regulating in terrible religion, what the SEC is doing is purposely making the laws ambiguous, purposely making it not possible to comply with the legal guidelines. That way they could come down and essentially quasi make the complete industry unlawful by way of announcing nicely, in keeping with us, we suppose, that is unlawful. There's no rules, there is no real velocity limits. It is like looking to play a soccer sport where the ref throws the flag on every occasion they want without giving a definition of why the flag was thrown. You should make something manifest, right? You may want to ship a crew back 10 yards throughout the entire area and simply keep saying flag. However, I'm no longer going to tell you why. It would not work. It's a broken gadget. But the SEC has purposely saved it this way. They have purposely created a damaged gadget which will modify primarily based on their own will. What we're seeing for the first time is that the courts are not most effective acknowledging this. They may be outright telling the SEC to their face the precise things we had been announcing, considering the fact that day one. The XRP community has found out this stuff for over 4 years now, but the relaxation of the world is waking as much as it, and we've never been in a better role. I desire to share you one ultimate quote from every other element in this situation, as it's without a doubt pretty humorous to appear how badly this is falling aside for the SEC. So test this one. It's nearly simply as terrible with Prismia terrible, with Prismia as terrible. Would nicely remand to the SEC to explain itself. It need to no longer give some other terrible explanation in an already long line of them. New innovations create new fraud risks, and the organization needs to shield towards them. But sporadically imposing sick-fighting regulations in opposition to crypto companies which are seeking to follow the law goes manner past preventing fraud. Objectives a whole industry and risks de facto banning it. On remand, the SEC ought to grapple with that problem. So proper here once more, the courts are calling out the SEC for doing the exact component we have stated in view that day one. What they are doing is going to the marketplace and saying, hello, the whole lot you're doing is unlawful, don't ask any questions, cope with it. And the courts are announcing that is outright insane. It's not allowed, and it is a blatant contradiction of the SEC's mission declaration. The SEC is letting the frauds run free and basically cracking down at the valid agencies like Ripple and Coinbase. What we are seeing is Ripple has been vindicated, XRP has been vindicated, and transferring ahead. In all likelihood, most of the other massive crypto gamers will as nicely. This is setting up for institutional adoption. This is putting in place for the institutions to mention, hello, there may be some there, and this technology has weathered the storm. So no matter the fact that manifestly this has been an ache to go through, no matter the fact that we must have by no means needed to undergo any of this, I sincerely do think is lining as much as being highly bullish. Now, with that stated, I want to quickly communicate approximately the Ripple SEC case now due to the fact we do have another submitting arising, if so as nicely on January 15th. So given that the fact that we do have another submitting arising, if so as nicely on January 15th, I would like to communicate, as a lot of you realize, the SEC basically appealed Judge Torres' choice wherein they faced comparable outcomes in that case. The courtroom basically said, you guys are insane, most of this case is whole BS, we're letting Ripple off the hook, and we're pronouncing that XRP isn't always a security. The SEC said we're attracted that, and the SEC has indicated what they desire to be attraction, but we are but to look their actual quick. That is due on January 15th. Now, a few humans are speculating that the SEC is not going to document this quick, that the SEC is going to move on and this example may be dropped. I pretty doubt it. Gary Gensler, in my view, has proven no indication that he is willing to do the right component. Gary Gensler has proven no indication that he is inclined to do something logical and make experience for the enterprise. So I do not think this is going to take place now. Gary Gensler is going to preserve combating as long as he is on the SEC. But the coolest news is there's most effective a pair extra days left of that. Gary Gensler leaves the SEC on January 20th. And the second one, we've got a new SEC chair in the function that Gary Gensler became sitting. It is very in all likelihood that this situation is dropped or disregarded, settled, and the quid of the day, which means that something occurs on January 15th, really does not be counted. The SEC can say anything it wishes. All of these perspectives are going to change on January 20th, and likely all the paintings they positioned into this quick that is about to be filed will likely be thrown away. What I agree with, we are going to see is both Paul Atkins or someone else excessive up on the SEC will available and say, we need to push aside this situation or we need to settle this situation. My hope is they absolutely settle the case. I think would be more bullish for Ripple and XRP because despite the fact that this example has been a master cluster, you recognize what the one component it has performed is offer a few clarity. It could kind of be a disgrace to combat this whole issue, get all this clarity, best for the SEC to drop it. Merely as a substitute, there'd be agreement due to the fact then at the least we would get some clarity on what Ripple is authorized to do and we'd have a real SEC opinion on it. It might nearly be the maximum direct readability we ought to ever get. So I've simply had my fingers for this thing, drawing out a touch longer and in fact getting a settlement among the two events because a lot of the things that you're asked about, this is partly covered, it's partly not. I'm pretty happy at this point, Craig, to cover it for the traditionally. I think that could be the remaining bullish scenario, and I virtually assume we're gambling out perfectly for that to take place. I think the SEC is going to be very willing, below affordable, clever management, that is the proper method. Because it's no longer about hurting the innovation. It's now not approximately stopping these agencies. It's approximately imparting those groups' suggestions to function compliantly within the United States. That's what creates safety, that's what creates investor confidence, and that's what allowed those corporations to end up dominant within the United States and not circulate offshore lines and gain those other economies. I need to speak about something else. It is taking place right now in the historical past that I believe could be insanely massive for XRP, and that's that President Trump is gambling out and liberating crypto government orders on day one.